The fluorescent lights in the Veterans Affairs waiting room buzzed like static in Marcus Thompson's head. 35 years old, hands still rough from years of building bridges in Afghanistan. He sat rigid in the plastic chair, his wedding ring finger bare for 3 years now. The therapist had just finished explaining breathing exercises for the 5th time this month, but nothing seemed to quiet the noise inside his skull since Alex died. Tonight was supposed to be different, for the first time since the funeral. Marcus had agreed to a blind date. His friend Jake had insisted that David Bennett, a teacher with kind eyes and a gentle smile, might help him remember what hope felt like. Marcus had chosen his shirt carefully, practiced conversation starters in the mirror, and made reservations at Higgins' restaurant downtown. Maybe, just maybe, he could learn to live again. But at 6:15, his phone buzzed with a message that shattered that fragile possibility. Em xin lỗi, không thể đến được. Có việc khẩn cấp với con. The Vietnamese words felt foreign on the screen, but the finality was universal. Another cancellation, and another reminder that healing couldn't be scheduled like an appointment. Marcus walked out of Higgins into the Portland drizzle, the city lights blurring through the rain on his windshield. Instead of driving home to his empty apartment, something pulled him toward OHSU Doernbecher Children's Hospital. Perhaps he needed to see life continuing, children laughing, families whole and unbroken. That's when he saw them. In the parking garage, beneath the harsh white lights, a man sat collapsed against a Navy SUV with Oregon plates. 2 small children huddled beside him, a girl with restless energy even while sitting still, and a boy who seemed to communicate through silence. The man's shoulders shook with the kind of sobs that come from somewhere deeper than disappointment, deeper than exhaustion. His dark hair was disheveled, his teacher badge still hanging from a lanyard around his neck. Marcus recognized the face from the dating profile photo. David Bennett looked nothing like his picture now, stripped of composure, vulnerable in the fluorescent parking garage light. His daughter Emma fidgeted with something in her pocket while his son Jake drew invisible patterns on the concrete with his finger. Without thinking, Marcus approached slowly. David looked up, his brown eyes wide with surprise and shame. They were supposed to be sitting in a restaurant making small talk about favorite books and weekend plans. Instead, they were meeting in a hospital parking lot, both men carrying weights too heavy for first date conversations. Sometimes destiny doesn't wait for perfect timing. Sometimes it finds you exactly when you think everything is falling apart. If you believe in second chances and the power of showing up when life gets messy, subscribe to Heart Stories, where every ending becomes a new beginning. Marcus knelt slowly beside David, his voice gentle against the echo of the parking garage. The children watched him with curious eyes, Emma's fingers never stopping their restless movement, Jake observing in complete silence. David tried to compose himself, wiping his face with the back of his hand, but the exhaustion was written in every line of his posture. They drove separately to Powell's Books Coffee, the iconic Portland landmark where the smell of roasted beans mixed with the comfort of endless stories. Emma immediately gravitated toward the children's corner, pulling fidget toys from her backpack, while Jake found paper and crayons, his small hands moving with deliberate precision across the white pages. David's story unfolded slowly, like pages turning in a familiar but painful book. Jefferson elementary school teacher for 8 years. Jewish heritage that complicated his relationship with traditional expectations. Divorced from Tom, who had remarried a conservative woman named Jennifer. The custody arrangement felt like walking on glass. Every decision scrutinized, every new relationship potentially weaponized. David spoke of coming out late, at 30, after years of trying to fit into a life that never quite matched the shape of his soul. The divorce had been bitter. Tom's family treating David's sexuality like a betrayal rather than a truth finally spoken. Now he taught second grade while navigating the delicate politics of a school community where some parents whispered about his lifestyle choices. Emma's ADHD meant frequent doctor appointments. Today's visit extending unexpectedly when new medication adjustments were discussed. David had panicked about the time, about disappointing yet another potential partner, about the complexity of dating while raising children who needed extra attention and patience. Marcus listened without judgment, his engineer's mind understanding the architecture of David's stress. He shared his own story in measured words. The Irish-German working-class background from Pendleton, Oregon, where being different meant being invisible. Military service as a combat engineer, building bridges and infrastructure in places where every day brought the possibility of losing everything. But it was Alex's death that had broken something fundamental inside Marcus. His partner of 8 years, an environmental scientist with dreams of sustainable communities, had died in a construction accident while building their first affordable housing project. The irony cut deep. A man dedicated to creating safe homes dying while constructing hope for others. The survivor's guilt manifested in sleepless nights and hypervigilance, PTSD symptoms that the VA hospital treated with varying degrees of success. Dating felt like betraying Alex's memory. But loneliness was its own kind of death, slow and suffocating. Thus, Amanda Rivers appeared beside their table like an answer to an unspoken prayer. The Black pediatrician's warm smile encompassed both David and Emma, her presence immediately calming the little girl's restless energy. She spoke briefly about ADHD support groups and family resources, her words creating a web of community around David that Marcus found beautiful to witness. Emma showed Marcus her collection of sensory toys while Jake presented his drawing, a house with 4 stick figures standing under a rainbow. The boy's first attempt at communication came through art, his silent approval more meaningful than words. When David mentioned his address near Alberta Street, Marcus realized they lived only 6 blocks apart, their paths probably crossing dozens of times at coffee shops and farmers markets. 2 lonely men orbiting the same neighborhood without ever colliding until tonight. They exchanged numbers as Emma organized her fidget toys with mathematical precision and Jake carefully folded his drawing into Marcus's palm. The evening ended not with romance, but with something more precious. The beginning of understanding between 2 people who had learned that love sometimes arrives wearing work clothes instead of Sunday's best. The greatest connections often happen when we stop trying to be perfect and start being present. 3 months dissolved like sugar in rain, sweetening everything they touched. Marcus began appearing at Jefferson Elementary events, his tall frame folding into tiny plastic chairs at Jake's art exhibitions, cheering from bleacher seats during Emma's soccer games where her boundless energy finally found purpose. His military organizational skills transformed chaos into systems that worked, teaching Emma color-coded schedules and helping Jake communicate through carefully structured routines. David discovered Marcus's sustainable housing project tucked between Alberta and Fremont, 24 units designed for working families priced out of Portland's housing boom. Emma delighted in the solar panels and rainwater collection systems, while Jake found solace in the quiet garden spaces where nothing was demanded except peaceful observation. Their support network expanded like ripples in still water. Rabbi Sarah Klein welcomed them to progressive Shabbat dinners where questions were celebrated and love took many forms. Carlos Santos, Jake's speech therapist, became a weekend hiking companion, his own single father experience creating an unspoken brotherhood. Martha and Sue, the retired couple next door to David, offered babysitting with the wisdom of women who had fought similar battles in less forgiving times. But Portland's progressive reputation couldn't shield them from the undercurrents of resistance that swirled through school board meetings and PTA gatherings. Mrs. Patricia Hoffman, PTA president with sharp edges and sharper opinions, began asking pointed questions about teacher conduct and community values. Principal Mrs. Rodriguez found herself caught between district policies promoting inclusion and parent complaints about inappropriate influence. The first school board meeting arrived like a storm front, the auditorium thick with tension and competing agendas. David sat in the back row, Marcus beside him, both men understanding that invisible battles were often fought in public forums with parliamentary procedures and 3-minute comment periods. The inclusive curriculum discussion became a proxy war, with some parents expressing concern about age-appropriate content while others demanded representation for all families. David's hands trembled during the public comment period, his teacher training warring with his personal vulnerability. He spoke about creating classrooms where every child could see themselves reflected, where family diversity was celebrated rather than hidden. Marcus watched faces in the audience, cataloging allies and opposition with tactical precision learned in very different circumstances. Their first kiss happened on Powell's Butte Nature Area, Emma chasing butterflies while Jake collected smooth stones with methodical focus. The view stretched across the valley toward Mount Hood. The city spread below them like a promise of possibility. Marcus's lips tasted like coffee and courage. David's response, carrying years of careful restraint, finally released. 2 weeks later, construction sounds triggered something primal in Marcus's nervous system. The pneumatic hammers and diesel engines transporting him back to places where loud noises meant danger. David found him crouched behind his truck, breathing shallow and rapid, eyes unfocused and searching for threats that existed only in memory. The breathing exercises came naturally to David, teacher instincts guiding them both through the storm until Marcus's heartbeat slowed and present tense returned. Marcus introduced David to his veteran support group, including Alex, a trans veteran whose transition had cost him family but gained him authentic life. The Thursday meetings in a community center basement provided sanctuary for men who understood invisible wounds and the complexity of serving a country that didn't always serve them back. But storm clouds gathered on familiar horizons. Tom's new wife, Jennifer, began expressing concerns about the children's exposure to alternative lifestyle choices. Anonymous complaints reached the school district, questioning David's professional boundaries and personal disclosure. Marcus lost a major contract when a client discovered his sexual orientation through online photos from a Pride event. The fragile ecosystem they had built began showing stress fractures. each challenge testing whether love could withstand the weight of a world not yet ready for the family they were becoming. Sometimes building something beautiful requires defending it from those who cannot yet see its value. The legal papers arrived on a Tuesday morning like a declaration of war written in courier font. Tom's emergency petition for custody modification cited concerns about environmental stability and the children's exposure to inappropriate relationships. The language was clinical, but the intent cut deeper than any knife, questioning David's fitness as a parent and Marcus's influence as a destabilizing force. David's suspension from Jefferson Elementary followed within hours, the school district bowing to pressure from Mrs. Hoffman's coalition and anonymous complaints about professional conduct. The accusations were vague but damaging, suggestions that David had shared personal information inappropriately and created an uncomfortable environment for traditional families. Marcus watched his affordable housing project crumble as the primary investor withdrew funding, citing community concerns about project leadership. The domino effect was swift and brutal. Subcontractors canceling agreements, permits facing additional scrutiny, months of work evaporating like morning mist under harsh sunlight. The school board meeting that followed resembled a modern-day trial by public opinion. Mrs. Hoffman commanded the podium with righteous certainty, speaking about protecting children from adult agendas and preserving traditional family values. Her supporters filled the front rows, nodding approval while clutching printed emails and petition signatures. But the opposition response surprised everyone. Dr. Amanda Rivers stood first, her pediatrician credentials carrying weight as she spoke about healthy family structures taking many forms. Rabbi Sarah Klein followed, quoting ancient wisdom about justice and love. Ms. Chen, Emma's teacher, risked her own position by testifying to David's professionalism and the children's obvious happiness and security. Carlos Santos brought his own son to the microphone, the 8-year-old speaking haltingly but clearly about kindness and acceptance. Martha and Sue held hands in the third row, their presence a living testament to love's endurance across decades of societal change. The local media coverage spread beyond Portland's city limits, social media amplifying both support and opposition until David and Marcus found themselves involuntary symbols in culture war battles they never chose to fight. The stress triggered Marcus's PTSD symptoms with increasing frequency. Sleepless nights bleeding into anxious days, while David questioned every decision that had led to this moment. Emma's behavior escalated at school, her ADHD symptoms intensifying under the pressure of adult conflicts she couldn't understand but definitely felt. Jake's speech progress regressed, his carefully built communication skills retreating into protective silence when voices rose and tensions filled rooms with invisible electricity. The breaking point came during a grocery shopping trip when Emma had a complete meltdown in the cereal aisle, her overstimulated nervous system finally overwhelmed by weeks of uncertainty. David froze, paralyzed by public scrutiny and parental inadequacy, while Marcus knelt beside Emma with calm voice and steady presence until her breathing slowed and her tears stopped. That evening, Jake spoke his first complete sentence in months, looking directly at Marcus while David prepared dinner. The words were simple but profound, cutting through legal complexities and social judgment with childhood honesty. His declaration of feeling safe became the foundation upon which they would build their defense. Martha and Sue shared their own custody battle story from the 1980s, when being lesbian meant automatic loss of parental rights and community ostracism. Their perspective provided historical context and emotional strength, proof that love could survive legal challenges and social hostility. The veteran support group rallied around Marcus with practical assistance and emotional support, Alex organizing a fundraising campaign, while other members provided character references and professional recommendations. Their military brotherhood extended beyond individual struggles to collective action. Lisa Chen from the ACLU agreed to represent them pro bono, her family law expertise focusing on LGBTQ+ parental rights and custody discrimination. The legal preparation involved gathering evidence of stable home environment, collecting character witnesses, and preparing the children for court evaluation with a child psychologist. David's moment of truth arrived during another school board meeting where he chose courage over caution, standing before the microphone with trembling voice but unwavering conviction. His speech about love, family, and representation resonated beyond the auditorium walls, creating a viral moment that shifted public opinion towards support and understanding. The children underwent court evaluation with Dr. Patricia Wong, a family psychologist who specialized in custody cases involving non-traditional families. Her assessment would become crucial evidence in determining the children's best interests and future living arrangements. True courage reveals itself not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to act despite it. Sunday morning at Laurelhurst Park arrived crisp and bright, autumn air carrying promises of change, while golden leaves carpeted the earth like hope made visible. The support gathering that began with 20 friends expanded into something magnificent. Over 200 people arriving with homemade signs and open hearts. Veterans stood beside teachers, LGBTQ plus families mixed with straight allies, faith communities represented by progressive voices willing to choose love over tradition. Tom and Jennifer arrived reluctantly, his face showing conflict between legal strategy and growing uncertainty. Witnessing the overwhelming community support, seeing Emma and Jake comfortable and confident among so many caring adults, the custody battle began feeling less like protection and more like cruelty. Judge Patricia Wong's courtroom reflected her reputation for fairness and thorough consideration. An Asian American mother of adopted children herself, she understood family complexity beyond traditional definitions. The character witnesses spoke with voices strengthened by personal conviction. Rivers testifying to the children's obvious health and happiness. Rabbi Klein discussing spiritual growth through acceptance. Ms. Chen describing David's classroom excellence and Emma's academic progress. The children's private interview became the turning point everyone anticipated. Emma's ADHD energy focused into clear communication about feeling loved and supported by both fathers. Jake's selective mutism dissolved in the safe space Judge Wong created, his words careful but decisive about wanting Marcus to stay forever. Their testimony carried the weight of innocent truth unmarked by adult political calculations. Tom's reluctant admission that the children appeared happy and healthy undermined his own legal argument. The guardian ad litem's recommendation to maintain current living arrangements reflected professional assessment over emotional manipulation. Jennifer's silence during proceedings suggested internal conflict about the path they had chosen. The school district investigation concluded with David's complete exoneration and return to Jefferson Elementary. New policies protecting LGBTQ plus staff from discriminatory complaints followed, creating structural change beyond individual victory. Mrs. Rodriguez's public apology acknowledged her own learning journey, while Mrs. Hoffman's quiet withdrawal from PTA leadership reflected shifting community dynamics. Marcus's professional rehabilitation came through community support, translating into construction contracts from progressive businesses and faith organizations. The Veteran Housing Project received foundation funding, expanding to include wraparound services for formerly homeless veterans. His decision to hire other LGBTQ plus veterans created an inclusive workplace where identity became strength rather than liability. The marriage proposal happened at Powell's Butte, where they had shared their first kiss. Emma and Jake helping Marcus present a ring while Mount Hood watched over the valley like a benevolent witness. The children's excitement about becoming a legal family exceeded even Marcus's nervous anticipation, their joy infectious and pure. Wedding planning embraced chosen family traditions, with Alex serving as Marcus's best man, while Dr. Rivers stood with David as matron of honor. The Portland Art Museum provided elegant backdrop for vows that included promises to Emma and Jake, commitment extending beyond romantic love into parental responsibility and protection. The annual LGBTQ plus family picnic began that summer, growing from their personal celebration into community tradition. The support group for LGBTQ plus parents launched at the community center, providing resources and connection for others navigating similar challenges. Even Mrs. Hoffman's gradual attitude shift, sparked by witnessing stable family dynamics, proved that hearts could change when fear gave way to understanding. The final scene unfolded in their backyard, where Marcus constructed a playhouse with Emma and Jake, while David graded papers at the kitchen table. The ordinary domestic tableau represented extraordinary victory, chosen family thriving despite initial opposition, love creating stability that legal documents could only recognize, never create. Their story became neighborhood legend, proof that broken plans sometimes clear the path for perfect families. That community strength emerges when diverse voices unite around shared values of love and protection for vulnerable members. Have you ever discovered that your greatest challenges led to your most meaningful connections? Share your story below. Someone might need to hear it today. Subscribe to Heart Stories, where broken becomes beautiful and every family finds its way home.